Let's go now to Hank Sheinkopf, a Democrat strategist, somebody who's worked in the past with Bill Clinton and indeed with Michael Bloomberg. Hank, welcome to GB News. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me in.
Now, can you understand why, Hank, on this side of the pond, we at the moment are vast sections of our media, very senior cabinet ministers, we are, to put it mildly, very unhappy that what we see and what we believe to be our closest ally in the world, at the end of an operation that we've been together with side by side for 20 years, and to be frank, Hank, since 1917, on virtually every major global event, we've worked together, we share intelligence with each other at a high level. And President Biden has unilaterally taken this decision, not conferred with us or indeed NATO allies. And can you understand why we're asking the question, is the special relationship between us and the USA, is it just a fantasy? Doesn't it matter to Biden and the Democrats anymore?
It better start mattering. We're celebrating 80 years really of the Atlantic Charter, the extraordinary relationship in, I guess, 5-time meetings between Churchill and Roosevelt that shaped the world and won the battle against the Nazis and fascists throughout the world and created a new democratic surge. And frankly, the relationship becomes even more important now. The threats are just as significant from China, Russia. The UK has been a staunch ally of the United States. And frankly, we should not forget the UK soldiers and members of the NATO alliance who paid with their blood and lives because the Americans asked them to be there. And this is the first time the NATO Charter provision calling for others to participate has ever been used in the history of NATO. It's an extraordinary moment. And I think ultimately what will occur is people will come to their senses and understand that the reason why we've been together is to go against the enemies of, frankly, of freedom and to protect our economic interests. And those economic interests and those enemies of freedom have never been more strong or more ready to attack than they are today.
I get all of those sentiments, and actually I agree with all of them too. What is it that President Biden doesn't get in terms of all of those things? Because frankly, the door, not only did the Taliban have tens of billions of dollars worth of up-to-date American military equipment, but the Chinese Communist Party now have access to vast mineral reserves, and especially lithium, which, if we are going to go down the electric car route, that load that's in Afghanistan becomes very, very important. We're yet to see what role Iran or Russia will play. But how is it, given the import of these things, how is it that a Democrat president has done this, made these decisions, and not even thought for a moment to consult with his allies?
I don't understand it, frankly. I want to go back to something you said a moment ago. The Chinese are far smarter than all of us, for some reason. They've been all over Africa, grabbing up as much cobalt as possible, which with lithium are the major ingredients of putting together electric cars, and frankly, using our mobile phones and other related equipment. They are doing something that no one's paying attention to, and the West is asleep and has not done what's appropriate. As to the Democrats, the United States is going through a major demographic shift. And the danger here is that in that shift, which is much more pronounced, we're becoming a non-white nation. And the interests of the people who are dominating the Democratic Party are in Africa, the Caribbean, in Asia, less in Europe, but they'd better wake up. If anything happens to the Mediterranean basin, the Brits and the Americans understood this. Note the Truman Doctrine in 1948. If anything happens to those great waterways, note the convoys that fed the Brits and kept the Americans in action in the beginning of the Second World War and prepared the British to at least begin to do what they had to do to stop Hitler. Anything happens to those sea lanes, anything happens to that commerce, the world will be a much different place. And our children, not necessarily those of us on this call, but our children will likely be eating grass. That's the facts of life. And the Americans will ultimately wake up, or they won't. I think they will.
I've not heard it explained in this way before. So the big demographic shifts that are going on within America that are reflected within the Democrat Party means a change, a shift of emphasis and priorities, yeah?
No question about it. You can see it. You're going to start seeing it in activities by the House Foreign Affairs Committee, which is now run, the United States House of Representatives, forgive me, committee chair, Greg Meeks, who is an African-American man from New York, and his priorities may be different. That's of the norm. The question is, will people understand the larger worldview? The Chinese are beating us, all of us in Africa right now. The Chinese want to do what they want to do. You know, it's the Thucydides trap. Some may say it's not worth looking at, but nothing's changed since Athens and Sparta went at it a long, long time ago. And the power that wasn't in power wanted to take that power. And that's what we face. And when the Americans finally wake up and understand that, it will be an important day for the Brits, the same way that the UK stood with the Americans and the Americans stood with the UK against the Soviet threat and protecting NATO to protect the UK. Nothing's changed. The only question is when the alarm clock will go off in the American brain.
So we need to reset this relationship, Frank, yeah?
We need to reset it to make sure the Americans understand how significant it is for their future, not just only for the wonderful people of the UK.
Well, you couldn't have put that more clearly or with more passion. Thank you very much indeed, Hank, for joining us here on GB News.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.